A ruptured appendix was only just the beginning for young Boone. See what set the stage for a miracle.
Take a look.
We were out for dinner with some friends, and when we came home, he was not feeling well.
The night of July 17, 2010, Jacob and Kelly Bonnema's 10-year-old son, Boone, began having severe abdominal pain.
At the house, he had trouble standing. We were thinking it might be food poisoning, it might be the flu, it might be something like that. But when he had trouble standing, I thought this might be more severe. So I knew it at that point that it was time to get to Children's Medical. They were willing to call the ambulance to move him down there. We just got in the car and we headed. We could get there faster than the ambulance could get there.
And then right away they realized, let's take him right in. He needs to get his appendix out right away.
Boone's appendix had ruptured and he was rushed to surgery to remove it. All indications were it had gone well, but later, complications arose.
His vital signs were not improving. And when they're not improving, you get concerned, which was extremely emotional, and it causes you to think, where are we? What is going on? This feels more serious than what I thought it was.
When they realized that infection from the appendix was spreading, doctors performed a second surgery on Boone.
When they went in to vacuum out the infection, it caused some lacerations in different places inside his abdomen, and that's bleeding, and that ends up clotting up and being a hematoma. The hematoma that they're most concerned about was literally the size of a can of Coke. And that was in a position that it obstructed his colon. After a number of days of not seeing him improve, they came in and made the recommendation that they go back in and do a blood transfusion, because they felt like the infection was not only inside cavities all around his abdomen, but also in his blood.
The blood transfusion was done, but Boone was still not improving.
You start seeing specialists come in to try to figure out cocktails of antibiotics.
There were 3 surgical interventions. They just couldn't quite get ahead of the infection, and it was very aggressive.
The doctors came out and said, Mr. Bonnema, we cannot go back in again. This is our final opportunity to help Boone. He has to beat it this time. And when a doctor says something like that, it's what you hear, but it's also the unsaid. We're no longer in the land of the normal with a burst appendix, but we're actually in a situation where we're watching our son fight for his life, and doctors saying that there's nothing else that we can do. And that is a very solemn reality.
I think at that point in time, it really hit. I think as a parent at that moment, you really had to give it to God.
The Bonnemas then began asking their friends and community to pray.
I knew and could feel that people were praying for me all, around the country, basically.
In that moment, you just say, God, is this truly your story that you're writing? Because I don't want to lose my son. I love him. And you say, God, I submit, he's yours, he's not mine. If it be your will, we want to finish raising him. Please let us have that opportunity. If you take him, we understand he's yours. That is a really quiet conversation between a father and a heavenly father.
Boone was on morphine for the pain and went in and out of consciousness for several days as his parents continued to pray.
The grace of God was definitely heavy. I think God gives you that strength when you don't have it in yourself. It's not a human strength. It's a strength that only can come from Him.
On a daily basis, people were giving us scriptures. Whenever you're going through something, the scriptures come to life in a new way, a way that you maybe had never read it before.
Then 5 weeks after being in ICU, he began to stabilize. The doctors cautioned his parents, though, that due to the damage to the colon, Boone would probably never lead a normal life.
But we were just so grateful that he was going to have a life. We started seeing so much movement in the right direction. He was waking up, he was able to talk to us again. And I can't tell you what it's like to not be able to speak to your child for days on end. And a little bit of food, a little bit of water, he was being fed through a feeding tube. At 10 years old, when you lose 40 pounds, you don't have 40 pounds to lose.
It took nearly a year, but Boone went on to make a full recovery. 8 years later, Boone is a healthy, active young man, showing no evidence of the trauma he went through.
One of my favorite verses is out of Isaiah, and it's,
Do not fear, for I am with you, and do not be dismayed, for I am your God. God is there with you, even though it doesn't seem like it at the moment. People who don't think that God is real or things like that is pretty difficult for me to hear because of the amount of things that God has done for me. There's so many blessings.
He even started playing football and recently accepted a full ride to play for Western Michigan in the fall of 2019.
Truly miracles on top of what all the doctors had said was going to be his new reality. That God wasn't going to have that for Boone. You know, God was going to do something different with Boone. He didn't just get healed a little bit, he got healed completely. He's the most active young man out there on the field.
I think going through this whole experience is you really appreciate and you realize that prayer is real and it is powerful.
There is a person who's a greater physician than all that have MD degrees. God's a great physician.
God spared me to, I think, help others in the long run, to share my story like I am right now, and to help give hope to other people that might be going through the same hardships.
He's fully restored, and only the Lord can do that. Only the Lord can do what man can't.